The digital beep slices through my Saturday morning like a cheap alarm clock from hell. Beep, beep, beep. Access denied. My eyes fly open at 8:15 a.m. In Oak Ridge Estates, the picture-perfect Texas suburb where every blade of grass is measured twice a week and every curtain color needs board approval. Sunlight stripes across my blinds in neat little prison bars. Beep, beep, beep. Access denied again. Someone is punching my brand new smart lock with the old master HOA code. What the hell? My younger brother, wait. No, not my brother. Bryce Thompson, the golden boy son of HOA President Karen Thompson, shouts through the door. Emery, open up. This is community property now. I sit bolt upright, sheets twisting around my legs like they're trying to strangle me. Last night, I'd quietly swapped every code after the annual potluck. 8 years of paying my mortgage, my HOA dues, and every ridiculous fine for non-compliant holiday lights, and I finally hit my limit. One tiny act of self-respect. The pounding starts, not knocking. Full body slams that shake the frame like they're auditioning for a demolition crew. Emery Nash, this is your HOA president speaking. Karen's voice, all honey and steel. We're here to prepare the asset for Bryce's startup. Open this door or we'll have to exercise our emergency entry rights. My hands shake, but I grab my phone and hit record. Evidence. Protection. Something cold and delicious settles in my gut as I chain the door and crack it 3 inches. Bryce stumbles back mid-lunge, shoulders still cocked like a battering ram. Behind him stands Karen, flawless at this ungodly hour in pressed khakis and a butter-yellow blouse that probably cost more than my monthly dues. She clutches a thick manila folder like it's the Holy Grail. Her husband, Doug, hovers by the curb, staring at his shoes. What are you doing? My voice comes out steady, almost sweet. Karen scoffs, brushing invisible lint from her sleeve. Stop this childish nonsense. Dear, we're all family here in Oak Ridge. Bryce needs the space for his business incubator. It's been designated a community asset under Article 17. Section 4. Remember the fine print you signed when you bought? I stare at the 3 of them, and suddenly I'm back at last night's potluck under the community pavilion. Fairy lights twinkling like they weren't about to witness a betrayal. Karen had raised her plastic wine cup, chandelier bulbs catching the shimmer. And to Bryce, who's finally getting the asset he deserves to launch his tech startup. The whole board had laughed. Neighbors, retired Karens in training. Even Doug. They all chuckled while I sat there, fork frozen over my sad potato salad. The house I'd bought 8 years ago. The mortgage paid for my interior design paychecks. The home I'd stayed in instead of chasing my New York masters when Dad lost his job. Now, they stood on my porch acting like it was HOA property. No, the word drops out small, but nuclear. Bryce's face twists. What do you mean, no? Something shifts inside me. The tremor stops. I straighten. I mean, this is not Bryce's house. This is not community property. And that master code no longer works because I own the damn locks. I push the door closed. Behind me on the desk sits the bottom drawer I'd emptied last night, the deed, 8 years of mortgage statements, every HOA payment receipt, all bearing one name, Emery Nash. I grab the stack, swing the door open again, and hold them up like a shield. This, I say, voice shaking but clear, is my house. The shock on their faces would be comedy gold if it weren't so pathetic. Karen's perfectly lined lips part in genuine outrage. Bryce turns crimson. Doug finally glances up, expression unreadable. For one frozen second, we're a living HOA nightmare meme. Then I slam the door. Deadbolt. Smart lock. Beep, secure. Outside, the screaming begins. Karen's voice hits that special register she saves for when her Botox can't hide the rage. Bryce pounds the wood like it personally insulted him. Doug mumbles something about keeping it civil. I slide to the floor. Back against the door. Phone still recording as my legs give out. The papers scatter like confetti from a very bad party. An hour later, the hallway finally quiets. Coffee. I need coffee. The mundane grind of beans gives my hand something to do besides tremble. My phone buzzes, an email from First National Bank. Your HELOC application. Appraisal confirmation for Monday, 10 a.m. The mug slips. HELOC. Home equity line of credit. A loan against my house I never applied for. My stomach drops through the polished oak floor. With numb fingers, I open my credit app. There it is, hard inquiry from First National. Dated 1 week ago, right after the potluck. The manila folder Karen carried? Not inspection forms. Final paperwork. They hadn't just declared my house community property at the potluck. They'd already stolen my identity to fund Bryce's dream. Karen, who'd helped me with HOA paperwork and had my social security number from the closing docs. Bryce, who'd shoulder-checked my door this morning. My tears dry up instantly. The weight in my chest turns to cold. Sharp steel. This wasn't a silly HOA dispute. This was fraud. This was a crime dressed in pastel cardigans, and for the community lies. I open my laptop. Bank fraud line. Fraud department. This is Karen speaking. How may I help you? Irony, so thick you could spread it on toast. My name is Emery Nash. I'm reporting identity theft. Cancel the application. Cancel the appraisal. I recite every security question, the same details Karen had used against me. When I name her as the perpetrator, the line goes silent for half a second. Understood. Miss Nash. Application flagged as fraudulent. Appraisal canceled. Would you like a credit freeze? Yes. And yes, I'll be filing a police report. I hang up, sink onto the bar stool, and smile for the first time in 8 years. My house is still mine. But I know, with the same certainty that the HOA fines arrive like clockwork, this is only the beginning of Karen's spectacular unraveling. Sunday dawn explodes with pounding so violent my framed neutral-toned art rattles off the walls. Emery, open this door right now. Karen's voice. No longer honey. Pure desperate blade. I pull on my robe. Keep the chain latched. Crack the door. She stands alone. Leather portfolio clutched like a life raft. Blonde helmet hair perfect despite the hour. The appraiser is coming tomorrow morning. She hisses. Words tumbling out. Bryce needs you to sign these papers immediately for the community. Dear, I tilt my head, almost pitying. There is no appraiser. Karen, I canceled it when I reported your fraud to the bank. The color drains from her face like cheap paint in Texas heat. 3 heartbeats of silence. Then the shriek rips out. You did what? Do you have any idea what you've done? You destroyed everything. Mrs. Delgado, 2 doors down, quickens her pace toward the elevator, clutching her Yorkie like it might explode. Mrs. Delgado can hear you, I say softly. I don't care who hears me. Karen slams her palm against the doorframe. You're a single woman, Emery. You'll get married and leave eventually. Stop being selfish and hoarding this house when my son needs it to build his future. The words should sting. They used to, but something inside me clicked shut like a brand new deadbolt. You taught me family, excuse me, community only matters when they need something from you. Lesson learned. Karen, thanks. I closed the door on her tirade. Her voice follows me to the kitchen like background noise from a neighbor's bad reality show. An hour later, my phone buzzes. Bryce's post on the Oak Ridge Estates Facebook page. Betrayed by a so-called neighbor who'd rather watch the community suffer than do the right thing. 6 likes. 3 crying emojis from other bored wives. I screenshot. Drop it into my new folder labeled Evidence. HOA Karen Meltdown Edition. Monday morning, the Google alerts hit. 1-star review on my interior design page from J. Thompson. Unreliable. Deceitful. Mentally unstable. 5 minutes later, Identical wording on Yelp under a different fake name. I recognize Karen's favorite passive-aggressive phrases instantly. Instead of panic, cold clarity floods me. They're escalating. From door pounding to livelihood assassination. Classic HOA playbook. The phone rings. Aunt Marlene, former board member who quit after Karen's third lawn measurement decree. Emery, I saw Bryce's post. What fresh HOA hell is this? I'll lay it out. The potluck toast. The master code assault. The fraudulent helic. Why mention the smear reviews? She hisses. Those absolute vultures. Honey, this isn't neighborly nonsense anymore. This is felony territory. I email her everything. Every brick in my digital fortress. My phone pings again. Ethan from upstairs. Your HOA queen was back this morning. My security cam caught the whole screaming match. Save the footage. Another ally. Another brick. The week crawls. I lose the Henderson redesign job. We heard you're having community issues, Mrs. Henderson says awkwardly. The one-stars are working their black magic. For 5 minutes, I sit on my living room floor surrounded by fabric swatches and let myself cry. Then I wipe my eyes, stand up, and head to Office Depot. If they want war, I'll give them binders. 3 black ones. 3 ring. Professional. 8 years of mortgage statements. The deed with only my signature. The bank fraud confirmation email. Screenshots of Bryce's Facebook rant and the identical fake reviews. Video from my phone. Ethan's hallway footage. All tabbed and labeled like the client presentations that built my business. As I drive to the emergency HOA board meeting Karen requested, the binders sit on the passenger seat like silent witnesses. Each weighs exactly 2 pounds, 4 ounces of pure, glowing truth. The community center glows under fluorescent lights that make everyone look guilty. Karen sits at the head of the long table like a pastel dictator. Doug beside her, Bryce slouching with his phone. 6 other board members, retired accountants, and stay-at-home enforcers stare at me like I'm the one who violated the 2-inch grass rule. You're late, Karen snaps. I check my watch. Actually 3 minutes early. That's how a respectful homeowner behaves. I place a binder in front of each of them. Black. Identical. Names printed on the spines. What is this? Doug asks. Annoyance thick. It's my answer, I say calmly. Karen flips hers open first. Her eyes land on the helic email with First National letterhead, screaming fraudulent at the top. Her face cycles red to chalk white. She snaps it shut. You wouldn't dare. Bryce opens his more carefully, like it might bite. He finds his own Facebook post. Then the 1-star reviews using his exact wording, mentally unstable and deceitful, in the same order he loves to spit them. His Adam's apple bobs. Only Doug actually reads. He traces the deed signature, mine alone, then the mortgage memos in my handwriting, future fund payment. His eyebrows knit. When he reaches the credit report showing the hard inquiry timed perfectly after the potluck, he whispers, Karen, you used her social security number? The room stills. A car passes outside. Headlights sweeping like searchlights across the ridiculous community values poster on the wall. Karen doesn't apologize. She bursts into angry, theatrical sobs. He's your son. We were going to lose everything. Doug stares at her with dawning horror, the kind you see when a man realizes the script he's been reading was written by a tyrant in pearls. I stand taller. The helic is dead. The bank flagged your number. Aunt Marlene has copies. Ethan has video. One more fake review. One more text. One more emergency entry attempt. And I file for identity theft and harassment. We're done. I turn and walk out. Back straight. Steps unhurried. Behind me, Karen's voice rises in a desperate wail. Doug. Tell her. Tell her she has to. Doug says nothing. The door closes with a soft click that sounds exactly like freedom. 3 months later, the glowing cursor on my screen blinks like a heartbeat monitor. My Google business page, 8 years of blood, sweat, and perfectly curated mood boards, now sits at a nauseating 1.5 stars. Every new review reads like Karen wrote it in her sleep. Unreliable, unprofessional, mentally unstable, canceled last minute. I fought them. I sent Google and Yelp the bank fraud report, my phone video, Ethan's hallway footage, everything. Their response? A soulless automated email. We have reviewed your complaint and found these reviews do not violate our community policy. My phone rings. Martin Lee from Austin Modern Interiors, my biggest client. Emery, I'll be direct. We're pausing the South Congress project. The board saw the reviews. Investors get nervous at words like unstable. I close my eyes. I understand. The condo, my condo, is silent except for the hum of the fridge. Across town, I know Bryce's Lee storefront still sits empty with a faded "coming soon" banner flapping in the wind. His grand startup dream died the day I killed the Helic. I'd won the battle, but my career was bleeding out from 1,000 paper-cut one-star wounds. A hot tear of pure rage slides down my cheek. I wipe it away hard. No, I say out loud to the empty room. She doesn't win. My hands, still the same hands that sketched award-winning designs, are right here. The talent never left. I open my design software and dive into the project file I've been nursing in secret. My submission for the City of Austin Young Entrepreneur Program. The reviews could hurt me, but they couldn't touch the work. The road back is brutal. I'll lose half my clients in the smear campaign. Each morning, I wake up to the 1.5-star death stare. But I refuse to die quietly. To every new inquiry, I say the truth flat out. My business is under a targeted HOA harassment campaign. Please judge me on my actual portfolio. Some walk away. The ones who stay become fiercely loyal. They see the before and after photos and decide anonymous internet venom means nothing compared to real results. Ethan starts leaving lemon tarts on my doorstep with little notes. HOA Karen still sulking. Keep going. Small kindnesses that keep me breathing. Aunt Marlene calls weekly, reminding me the binders are still in her safe, just in case the witch tries round 2. 5 months after I locked that door forever. Sunshine pours through my freshly washed windows, painting golden rectangles across the living room floor. Potted herbs line the sill, basil, mint, rosemary, releasing fragrance every time I brush past. The snake plant by my drafting table has 3 new shoots. Life, stubbornly green, refusing HOA approval. My phone pings. Email from the City of Austin Young Entrepreneur Program. Congratulations, Miss Nash. Your application has been accepted. I read it 3 times. Then, the next paragraph. They want me to speak at the spring South by Southwest small business track. I step onto my tiny balcony. April air carries barbecue smoke and cut grass. A cardinal lands on a railing, eyes me sideways, then flits toward the oaks. The elevator dings. Ethan waves from the mailboxes. Saw you're speaking at South by Southwest. Big time. Congrats. Emery. No pity. Just respect. Later that week, I stand at the edge of the conference stage. Heart hammering with clean anticipation instead of dread. The moderator's voice rings out. Please welcome Austin-based interior designer and entrepreneur Emery Nash. I step into the spotlight. Burgundy blazer bright against the backdrop. The woman at this podium looks nothing like the silent homeowner who once sat through potlucks while the board laughed at her expense. When I finish, applause washes over me. Warm, real, validating. I step down, scrolling notes. When I spot them near the exit, 2 smaller figures. Doug's shoulders slope under his sport coat. Karen's hair is softer, less helmet-like. They approach hesitantly, like people who've forgotten how to walk without rules to enforce. You did good, kid, Doug says quietly. Karen's eyes actually search mine instead of scanning for weakness. Can we start over? Her voice lacks its usual razor edge. Something shifts inside me. Not forgiveness exactly, but the soil where might one day grow. Maybe, I tell them, steady as my new deadbolt. When starting over isn't just another way for the HOA to regain control. I smile politely, turn, and walk toward the group of peers waving me to their table. Behind me, the former queen and her king stand alone under the bright conference lights, finally understanding what every blade of grass in Oak Ridge Estates already knows. Some houses refuse to be community assets. And for the first time in 8 years, the tightness in my chest is gone, replaced by something lighter than HOA fines and sweeter than revenge. Pure, unapproved freedom. The weeks after the South by Southwest panel blur into a montage of new client contracts, glowing testimonials, and the slow, delicious death of Karen's carefully curated image. The Oak Ridge Estates Facebook page, once a shrine to her pastel tyranny, fills with quiet murmurs. Did anyone else notice the president's son never opened that business? Why did the emergency entry code suddenly stop working for everyone? I don't post. I don't gloat. I simply let the truth do its slow, satirical work. The same neighbors who once laughed at the potluck now cross the street when Karen power walks past in her perfectly pressed khakis. Her weekly community update emails grow shorter, more desperate, sprinkled with passive-aggressive reminders about unity that fool exactly no one. Bryce's lease storefront finally gets a real sign. Available, brokers welcome. The grand opening that never happened becomes neighborhood legend, the punchline at every block party. Karen tries one last Hail Mary, a special board meeting to discuss recent unfortunate misunderstandings. Attendance mandatory for all homeowners. I arrive with a fresh binder, thinner this time, but deadlier. Inside, the police report I finally filed. The bank's official fraud closure letter. Screenshots of every deleted one-star review Google eventually removed after the third complaint. And a neatly printed copy of the HOA bylaws with Article 17. Section 4 highlighted in screaming yellow. The section that actually says nothing about seizing private homes for community assets. Turns out Karen had been quoting a fictional rule the entire time. The community center is packed. Residents who never spoke up before now line the folding chairs like they're waiting for fireworks. Karen sits at the head table, smile glued on so tightly her Botox looks strained. Doug stares at the gavel like it might bite him. Bryce slouches so low he's practically under the table. Before we begin, Karen trills in her best public voice. Let's remember we're all one happy Oak Ridge family. I stand up before she can bang the gavel. Actually, let's remember we're all homeowners who pay dues, not serfs. I slide the new binder across the table. Page 1. The police report filed against you for identity theft. Page 2. The bank letter confirming you used my personal information without consent to fund a private business. Page 3. Proof that the community asset rule you quoted doesn't exist, unless you wrote it on your own stationery. The room erupts in whispers that sound like 1,000 tiny deadbolts clicking shut. Karen's smile cracks. This is a private family, community matter. No, I say, voice carrying like the glowing sunlight outside. This is public record now. And every resident here has the right to know their HOA president tried to steal a paid-off home through fraud. Doug finally speaks. Voice hoarse. Karen, is this true? She bursts into those same angry, theatrical sobs from the dining room confrontation months ago. I was only trying to help my son. The community needs new businesses. But the board members, accountants and retirees who suddenly remember they have spines start flipping through the binder. One by one, their faces shift from confusion to disgust. The vote is swift. Motion to remove Karen Thompson as president. Unanimous. Effective immediately. Bryce tries to protest, but the murmurs drown him out. Someone in the back actually laughs. A genuine laugh while furious sound that spreads like wildfire. Karen stands, pearls trembling, and for the first time in 8 years, she looks small. No master code. No folder full of lies. Just a woman in butter yellow who finally ran out of rules to hide behind. I walk out to applause that feels better than any 5-star review. Ethan high-fives me in the parking lot. You just ended an 8-year reign of terror with 3-ring binders. Legend. That night, I sit on my balcony with a glass of wine. No HOA approval needed, and watch the sunset paint my house gold. The same house they tried to steal. The same house I defended with nothing but truth, patience, and the quiet refusal to stay silent anymore. Somewhere across the neighborhood, Karen is probably polishing her khakis and drafting a new community values email. But the codes have changed. The doors are locked, and the only thing glowing brighter than the Texas sun is the satisfaction of watching an empire built on fines, fraud, and fake smiles crumble under the weight of its own ridiculous rules. 1 year later, the Oak Ridge Estates sign still stands, but everything else feels different. The lawns are still green because people actually like nice yards, not because a drone measures them twice a week. The new HOA president is a retired teacher who believes in common sense instead of feudal decrees. Holiday lights can stay up until February if you want. Curtain colors are now suggestions. My business page sits at a healthy 4.9 stars again. New clients roll in faster than Karen used to issue violation notices. The Young Entrepreneur Award sits on my shelf next to the original deed that started it all. Sometimes I catch myself smiling at random moments. When the smart lock beeps, welcome home, instead of access denied. When Ethan waves from the mailboxes without looking nervous. When I sketch a new design without glancing over my shoulder for pastel enforcers. I never moved to New York. I didn't need to. The master's program I gave up 8 years ago, I found something better right here. A life built on my own terms, paid for by my own hands, defended by my own voice. The last time I saw Karen was at the community mailbox cluster. She was sorting mail with the careful precision of someone who's lost her kingdom but still pretends the crown fits. Her hair was softer, her posture less rigid. Bryce wasn't with her. He'd moved to a cheaper apartment complex across town, one without HOAs and apparently without startup capital. She looked up, met my eyes for half a second, then dropped her gaze to the junk mail flyers like they contained state secrets. No snide comment. No for the community lecture. Just the quiet defeat of a woman who finally learned that some doors stay locked no matter how hard you pound. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. The binders had spoken louder than any scream. The police report had spoken. The empty storefront had spoken. And the entire neighborhood, once terrified of her pastel wrath, was now quietly, deliciously free. Sometimes late at night, I replay the old phone video in my head. Karen's perfectly lined face contorting when I told her the appraisal was canceled. Bryce's shoulder bouncing uselessly off my reinforced door. The collective gasp when Doug whispered her name like an accusation. I don't watch it for revenge anymore. I watch it for the reminder. Power looks invincible until someone quietly changes the codes, gathers the receipts, and refuses to hand over what they built. Oak Ridge Estates still looks peaceful from the outside. Identical houses, identical lawns, identical mailboxes. But inside every home, there's a new understanding. The rules only matter if you let them. And some homeowners, we don't let them. I close my laptop, step onto the balcony, and breathe in the night air, cut grass, distant barbecue, and the faint scent of rosemary from my own windowsill. No finis, no inspections, no Karen. Just me, my house, and the glowing satisfaction of knowing I won. Not by screaming louder, but by standing still, recording everything, and letting the truth do the heavy lifting. And somewhere in the distance, a new HOA president is probably learning the same lesson the hard way. Never underestimate the quiet resident who finally decides the only code that matters is the one they set themselves. The end.